It's no secret that Gen Z and millennials are terrible with money, but what do you expect when you provide zero financial education in schools, throw us into the world with a mountain of student debt, and slap million-dollar price tags on homes that look like this? I can't do anything about those last two, but I will try to teach you what schools should have about money, and today we're going over 5.5 fatal money mistakes you're probably making without even knowing about it. Starting with,
you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and stop buying all that Louis Vuitton and put together a budget.
just kidding. Today's video, brought to you by SiteJabber, isn't filled with obvious or outdated advice. You'll actually learn something new here. Like mistake number 1, not investing the cash you deposit into your Roth IRA and brokerage account. If you watched this video, you learned that the 3 steps to investing are 1, open an account, 2, deposit money into that account, and then 3, use that money to invest into stocks, index funds, bonds, etc. Now, it's pretty common for people to just completely forget about step number 3, and it's not hard to see why. I mean, for most people, your first exposure to investing comes in the form of a workplace retirement plan like a 401k. Now, with 401ks, money is automatically taken from your paychecks and invested into funds either you or your employer picked out. It's basically a completely hands-off process for you. Self-managed accounts like Roth IRAs and brokerage accounts that aren't tied to your employer can certainly be automated too, but they do not start out that way. So make sure you actually invest the cash you deposit into these accounts. And if you do want to make investments into an IRA or brokerage account pretty automatic, I've linked an article from Fidelity below that walks you through the entire process. Just promise you'll finish watching the video before you check it out. Staying on the topic of investing, mistake number 2 is using managed investing accounts and actively managed funds. A managed investing account is exactly what it sounds like. You can open a brokerage account, for example, with a company like Schwab, and instead of choosing how your money is invested yourself, you let their expert financial advisors do it for you. Actively managed funds are pretty similar. Instead of you buying a whole bunch of stocks yourself, you can invest in a fund where another expert fund manager uses the fund's money to invest in stocks they believe will outperform a certain benchmark. On the surface, these both sound like great deals for new investors. I mean, who doesn't want to offload all the weight of investing onto someone else's plate? But they have 2 not so great things in common. 1, high fees, and 2, below average returns. To be fair, I mean, the high fees should be expected. You are paying the salary of advisors and fund managers to actively move your money around. But shouldn't this mean that your investments perform better? I mean, theoretically, yeah, but it turns out these investment experts can't predict what the stock market will do any better than you can, which led to not a single actively managed mutual fund outperforming the market over the last 5 years. And the fees they charge in spite of this underperformance can really impact your returns. If we compare this index fund offered by Fidelity with a 0.015% fee with one of their actively managed funds with a pretty standard 2.26% fee, we find that on an investment of $100K over 20 years, the index fund would only charge you $900 in fees. Again, that's over 20 years, and the active fund would charge you nearly $80,000. And because the fees are paid by taking money out of your investment, you also lose out an additional $120K in appreciation. Now, I personally don't want to pay higher fees for worse performance, so I invest exclusively in passively managed index funds and targeted funds instead of these actively managed funds. The easiest way to spot one of these actively managed funds is to look at the expense ratio, aka the fee. If it's anything more than 1%, chances are it's active, and they also tend to have fancier names like Advisor International Small Cap Opportunities Fund to make them sound more sophisticated, while low-fee index funds tend to just be named like the blank index. Mistake number 3 is using a normal savings account. Raise your hand if your savings account is with the same bank as your checking account. Now, keep your hand raised if this is with one of the big banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, US Bank, or Bank of America. Now, use your hand to facepalm if the only reason you open an account with them is because they're recognizable names and have physical bank branches around your town. Big banks definitely have their perks, but they only pay you an average interest rate of 0.4% on your savings balances, while most high-yield savings accounts offered by online banks are paying you more than 10 times that amount right now. So instead of earning $40 in interest on a savings balance of 10 grand over 1 year, a high-yield savings account would pay you around $400 to $450 in interest at current rates.
That sounds too good to be true. There has to be some sort of catch.
There's not. High-yield savings accounts have the same security and flexibility flexibility as your normal savings accounts, and there's not a chance that your balance would suddenly lose value like it could if it was invested in the stock market. So why can they pay you so much more interest? It helps to understand how banks actually make money. So all banks take a large percentage of the money their customers deposit into checking and savings accounts and lend it out as mortgages, auto loans, personal loans, etc. Right now, they charge around 7 to 10% interest on these things, and this is where most of their profits come from. Big banks have thousands of employees and tons of office space to pay for, plus they know their brand name will bring them customers regardless of how competitive their offerings are, so they can usually get away with paying you little to no interest on your savings balances. High-yield savings accounts are usually offered by online-only banks with a low employee headcount and little to no physical office space, so they're able to allocate more of their profits towards offering higher savings rates, which in turn brings them more customers. My favorite high-yield savings account is linked down in the description. Speaking of favorites, supporting your favorite business or warning people of a not-so-great business by leaving them a review on SiteJabber could win you a $100 Amazon gift card. So go ahead and leave a review about your experience with an investing platform or online bank. SiteJabber is a business and product review site with a mission noble enough to receive a grant from the National Science Foundation to help buyers make smart purchases and avoid scams. With over 10 million reviews of nearly 200,000 businesses, SiteJabber should be your first stop before buying something from a company you're not familiar with. And as I mentioned at the beginning, SiteJabber is incentivizing you to go on their platform and leave reviews for businesses that could use more awareness, so not huge companies like Apple or Google, by giving 5 of you $100 Amazon gift cards. Just sign up through my link in the description, leave a real review, and SiteJabber will choose the winners randomly and contact them through their social account. I would like to personally thank SiteJabber for supporting my content. Now it's time for us to support them and potentially earn a $100 Amazon gift card while you're at it. Mistake number 4 is tanking your credit score by mismanaging your credit utilization. Your credit utilization is a percentage reported to the credit bureaus that tells them how much of your available credit you're using. It's important because it's the second biggest factor in calculating your credit score, right behind making on-time payments. For example, if you have 2 credit cards with $1,000 limits, so a $2,000 total limit between them, and you max one of them out, you'd be using $1,000 out of your total $2,000 limit, which would be a 50% credit utilization. It'd be the same if you charge $500 on both of them. It's all about how much of your total credit you're using. The general recommendation is that you want to keep your credit utilization below 30%. This shows the credit bureaus that you can responsibly use credit cards without constantly maxing out your cards. However, I'd recommend keeping it to 10% or less if you really do want to supercharge your credit score. And there's 2 things you can do that makes this a lot easier. 1, ask for a limit increase on your current cards. If you have a history of on-time payments with each card, it should be pretty easy to raise your limits by a couple $1,000s. So why would this be helpful? Well, let's give an example here. If you could raise your total credit limit from 5K to 10K, what used to be 50% credit utilization would turn into only 25% utilization. So this just has the potential to give you a lot more breathing room. And number 2 is to pay off your credit card before the next closing date. This is when the bank takes a snapshot of your credit card activity and sends it off to the credit bureaus. If your balance is low when they take the snapshot, you'll have good utilization, and then vice versa if your balance is high. And it's easy to find this data in your credit card's app or on an actual statement, and it's usually about 1 month before your payment is actually due, though I like to pay mine off a couple days beforehand because payments can take some time to process. Now that you know how credit utilization works, you'll realize why mistake number 5, which is closing no annual fee credit cards, is a bad idea. The more credit cards you have open, the higher your total credit limit is, and the easier it is to keep a low credit utilization. Plus, the 3rd largest factor in determining your credit score is length of credit history. So the longer you keep cards open, the higher your credit score will be. I mentioned no annual fee cards specifically because there aren't many reasons outside of downsizing your wallet you'd want to close them. Annual fee cards can obviously be different, but before you close them, check to see if they have a downgrade option available. For example, let's say you sign up for both the Sapphire Preferred and Sapphire Reserve last year, earned their combined like $1,500 worth of sign-up bonuses, but don't want to pay the $745 in annual fees moving forward. Call the customer service line on the back of your card and tell the rep that you want to downgrade your cards to a no-fee card like the Freedom Flex or Freedom Unlimited. These new cards are tied to your original accounts, so you keep building credit history without paying the annual fees. But downgrading does typically make you ineligible for the sign-up bonus of the cards you are downgrading to, so you want to ensure your new cards don't have a high-value welcome offer you want to go after. But the most fatal mistake, which is mistake 5.5, is that you aren't subscribed or using my free resources down in the description to learn more about money.